Well, it's a thing now, K Mega. It is a thing. We're live.
Oh, are we
We're
live?
live.
Oh, mercy, mercy, mercy. It has been a minute. I'm over here trying to send this out myself, and I'm trying to look cool and doing it, but it's not going to work.
I
So
have to I have to figure
let's see what I've done.
the what is it? Schedule your broadcast sort of thing. I have to figure that shit out. I haven't poked around in that yet.
Oh, yeah, you gotta do that.
That helps. That helps with people that are like they
Yeah,
want to come
yeah,
back.
especially
Yeah.
yeah, especially when you're uh bad like I am, and sometimes you got to reset it. But other than that, I'll talk to
Sometimes
you
that
about it behind the
sometimes
scenes.
that helps. Yeah. We'll chat about it. Well, welcome guys
Yeah,
to the most most consistently inconsistent podcast on the internet.
right.
Me and K Mega were just getting caught up, so I'm sorry for the delay on the
Yes.
podcast. Sometimes friends have to get caught up. Sometimes we don't talk all the time. I think people expect us to be hanging out 24/7, but sometimes we have different interests. It's just how it goes. So
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Well, for me, my interest was getting surgery, recovering,
that's a shitty
and
hobby, just so you know.
yeah. And what was bad was that going through the holidays, and then going to different families' houses, and then watching them eat while I had to be have myself be in a situation where I like, look, I'm be on a liquid diet right now. You got to chill. Nah, can't do anything. You know what I'm saying? And then it got this strap thing because of my back surgery, all that. It was just really wild. So, but I will tell you this: it didn't affect me so much when I went over to my wife's family's house, but it affected me when I went
Did
to
they
my
know?
mom's house.
Did they not know how to cook?
Oh no! They
Okay.
well they didn't really cook. They had like dine in, and it was Mexican food, but it looked delicious. But I was cool. I was cool, you know. But when I went over to mom's house and the whole spread, oh my god, I was like, and then I was like, all right, well, anyway, so I'm sitting there, back hurting, like Jesus Christ, and I gotta chill because you don't want to add any pressure to your back and things like that. So
Yeah.
it was whatever, but I mean, what I'm saying, got through it. Got a awesome Christmas gift from the wife. It was amazing, and just what I'm saying, just blessed, man. Got off the table, got things done, and now we're ready to get things rolling and officially back and getting back to work with the content. And so, of course, I had to hit my boy up, Don, and say, look, ready to do some Devin the Gamer. So he was
Nice.
like, give me 20 minutes now. So anyway, so there we go. So how you been? How was the holidays? What I'm saying? What did you do?
Holidays were good. Super chill.
Mm-hmm.
Me and my wife did a kind of low key, because hey, we plan on getting some property.
Oh,
And
nice.
it's funny, we just moved to this place, but we're already starting the plans for our dream home, like after this one.
Oh wow.
So
Oh
like
wow.
that starts. It's gonna be a long process. We don't want it to be stressful. You know what I mean? So we're looking around in the areas that we like and try to get a good, like, just an acre parcel, just something I can build
Mm.
whatever I want. We're talking about how I want a garage, like a work garage, if you get where I'm going with that. So like
Yeah,
the
yeah,
the
yeah.
toys are starting to collect just beyond the bikes, and so talk about track day cars, my daily driver, my site. Our garage is getting full. It's a problem, and I'm the problem. So we're trying to resolve that long term. Also, with we were talking about with what I'm doing, starting my own studio and all that sort of stuff. We
Mm-hmm.
we also know
Yeah.
that like I got one or two solid releases, and then probably going to be moving on because of how much time everything's going to take, in regards to that. So planning my other hobbies down the road is kind of crucial. So because I'm not that type of person, we go on vacation, I can't just sit there. I can't sit on a beach and watch the sunset.
Oh,
I have to go around
got to
with
keep it moving.
yeah, but my ass has to be on fire at all times, right? So like so yeah, there's a little bit of that. So it just everything's looking. It was a really chill holiday, more so than we normally do. So less gift exchanges, but a lot bigger things happening in our lives. So that's cool. And then just trying to kind of do that reset. I think everyone tries to do when you're doing the daily grind and get ready for the next year. And I'm excited for what's coming around the corner. Me and you were talking about what you had planned and what I have planned. So I have a lot of
Yep.
things planned, and a lot of stuff
Yep.
is going to be dropping this month. So I'm excited. Less talk and more output. So that's going to be cool.
Oh yeah,
So
that's exactly it. Yeah, it was just more of like when we was talking behind the scenes. Is that yeah? Now I got a plan. The plan is now set in motion, and so now I can really now sigh, put a sigh of relief, and now get back into what I've been wanting to do with the content creating, and now get ready to go balls in the wall with that. So I'm excited. So um, but other than that, like, what games have you been playing? Because for a minute there, I was trying to play some games, man. I could only play a couple of hours, and then I'd go to sleep. I would get back and be thinking, dreaming about the game because at that time, at that point, I wasn't done with Midnight Suns, and so I can't wait to go back. But then my body was like, nah, bro, you need to go ahead and take this take this Tylenol or take this Oxy and go ahead and just get to going to sleep.
yeah.
You got to heal. And so then, but then I got my gaming in. But what games have you been playing in the time since we haven't talked? Because I mean, it's been a minute. It's been about what, a month, a little over a month.
Yeah. So I've been working on that gun gore grave game. Like I think I'm on
Yeah.
when I stream, I do kind of episodic content wherever I kind of stop. It's not actual
Hmm.
chapters, but just kind of sessions that I do. And man, I thought that was going to be a quick game, and I was done, and I was out. And that game does not end. There's like
Oh,
37
so
levels in that son of a. You know what I mean? 37 levels in that son of a. I mean, like it just keeps going. So it was a great game, but like I thought I would have it finished before High on Life came out. And so everyone's playing High on Life, and it was 2022 wasn't a year I've complained about it, but just wasn't a year that it excited me as a gamer. But the one game that I was really kind of hyped for was High on Life, and I had to delay myself a week because you know how it is. I don't like to have multiple games going at the same time, and I
yeah,
want to sit
yeah.
and enjoy it. Um, and so like I finally got to a breaking point on New Year's Eve. I'm like, all right, I want to see how long I can do a stream for. And I did a late night and I enjoyed it. I put about 5 hours into the game solid, and I realized I'm like, all right, I'm not going to enjoy this game if I continue to go the rate I'm going. I can do it, but I wasn't going to enjoy it, and I didn't want to ruin the experience. So I put pause on that, and that's actually when I'm going to be gaming after the stream today. In regards to that's what I have on the docket, but no, definitely really enjoying it. It's everything I expected out of the game. In regards to, and some things are a surprise. I think the gun mechanics are way better than people thought. There's a little bit of a learning curve
Mm,
with it,
hmm.
but the gun mechanics are way better than I thought. You just have to figure out where the crosshairs line up with certain guns, how certain guns' secondary abilities work. Yeah, it's just a lot better than I thought. And you talk about a game that has a script, like a scripted narrative game. I
Hmm.
think it's the best done scripted narrative game of 2022.
Oh
Like
wow, really,
yeah,
really.
yeah, absolutely. Doesn't mean there's not other good games or other things that people enjoy. Just how the interactions like are they have the branching stories, but they're consistent. How the guns constantly will communicate with you as you're gaming. So both giving you cues, but also scripting the story simultaneously. It's just done in a different way, and it's clever
You're
and
talking about High
high
on
on
Life,
life,
right?
high
Or
on life.
Gun?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
okay, okay. I thought you were
yeah.
talking about Gun Gore. I was like,
No, not
really?
Gungor.
I
No,
was
no,
like, oh,
no,
okay,
no,
okay,
no.
okay.
High on life. No,
Oh,
Gungor.
okay, okay, yeah,
The
okay.
Gungor is just like a classic feeling older game that just felt
Yeah.
good. I think when I was streaming, Mishi described it perfectly. It was kind of that game that you go to like a Blockbuster back in the day, and
Oh yeah, yeah.
cover, you're like, yeah, I'll try this weekend, and you're like, this game is awesome. It's one
Yeah,
of those
yeah.
sort of games, but no, that one is your typical like like older Japanese anime type story.
Yeah.
I think you were telling me it was
Yeah.
an older game that they kind of
Right.
refurbish, sort of thing. And that part shows for sure. And the mechanics are repetitive, but it's a fun mechanic game. So High Life, it's finished that. Then I'm gonna go back to Gun Gore Grave, in regards to that. And I don't know what else I have on the docket after that. Who knows? It may be maybe Starfield. Who knows? Who knows what's going on around the corner?
Who knows?
Right?
Who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yobi, brother, I missed you too. It's good to be back, like I was saying when we started the show. And man, thank you so much. I'm glad that you noticed. Yeah, man, I've been this diet has been good to me so far. I'm not stopping now. So with the AKA Slim Mega is really coming. So
Skinny Mega,
he'll be on his way. Skinny Mega is coming.
I have to rename my pets in Sea of Thieves.
You do. Yeah, I might have to change my Sea of Thieves character here maybe within another 6-7 months anyway. But nah, it's kind of funny. But yeah, no, but thank you, Yobi, man. Missed you to death. Missed everybody, man. I've been clamoring at the bit to want to get back into doing this, but I mean, I had to heal up. I had to get everything done. But all that, surgery was successful. You know, back is still achy, but you know what I'm saying. But there was multiple parts of the back that needed to be done, and so, but they got, I think, the biggest part of it taken care of. And so then now it's rehab, all that other stuff. But anyway, but other than that, like Fight Night's coming back, GRG's coming back. I'll be on next podcast tomorrow. So it's gonna be great. It's gonna be great. I'm ready. I'm so excited. But for me, when I started to heal up, I finished Midnight Suns. Absolutely superb. Definitely wasn't a AAA game. It was a AA game. It had its moments where it looked like it had a good budget, especially when the fighting scenes and stuff like that. But the story was absolutely immaculate. It was a fantastic story. And the ending, I was hoping that it would set itself up to be a franchise. But after the ending, yeah, they did the same ending type of thing like they do with normal Marvel movies. The credits roll through, and then after so long, it sets off, and I'm like, oh, let's go. So yeah, I didn't get everything in the Abbey. I was having a problem getting everything in the Abbey, but that was because probably I was half in and half out. So I'll probably go back to get everything in the Abbey because they're definitely going to be doing DLC, Deadpool, and I think 3 or 4 more characters are going to be added. So, and I'm pretty sure they're going to have a different added piece of storyline. So I'm definitely going to be all in on that. But I thought that was a game. I gave that game a 9 out of 10 because it was just that. It's one of those games for sure that is not for everybody because you have to do a lot of character building, build relationships.
But no game is, right? Like,
yeah, right.
So I don't think we need to put that stipulation on there. I think that's the case for every game, right? It doesn't mean it's a bad game just because it's not for everybody. It means there's a certain audience for it, right? So,
right.
Well, my real question for you is,
yes,
in 2022 there was a game at the beginning of the year that made us strangers. Just for a little bit. Now there's a particular game that I know it's got a little bit of a touch up. Like it's got a little powder on the face, if you know what I'm talking about. Yeah, a little. Yeah. And is the beginning of 2023 going to make you a stranger outside of Devin the Gamer? Like, what is going on? What?
Okay.
Is The Witcher got you again?
Right, so The Witcher got me again, but this is the thing.
Okay.
It's like a fine wine, but it is crazy because I'm back to getting into the groove. I can sit and play some games for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And so the other day, I got my full-fledged time into The Witcher, and time just flew. And I mean, I got up and took breaks, but I played The Witcher 12 hours straight. It was like 10 to 12 hours just straight the other day. And I said, holy moly, I have not done that since I played Elden Ring. And so I'm like, this is...
But I knew this was coming. I knew this was coming.
But you knew it was coming. I think everybody knew this was coming because at first I was reluctant. I played for a little bit and I was like, oh man, this looks good. But yeah, then I got the combat was still, it took me a little bit to get back into getting the combat down. Not as long as it did the first time. But then, when I got to the Griffin and started to play around, move around, jump around, do my thing, I said, oh, it's coming back. And then I just, well, let me go to this place. Well, let me go to that place. Oh, well, let me look at this. Let me look at that. And then it just took off. And so, yeah, I'm back into the Witcher 3 with just open arms, man. Like this playthrough. And now what's crazy is that now I'm doing things that I didn't get a chance to do the last time because remember, I played it when it first came out for about 6 months to about 6-7 months. And then they said they was going to do an update. That update didn't come until like a year later. So I stopped playing, was playing other things. And then I came back in about a year and a half later and finished it. So I was in a mode of wanting to hurry up and get it done. And it still took me like 500 hours. This time I'm taking my time. I'm going to do damn near everything, if not do everything.
So the question is,
I'm going to get it.
What am I going to be able to give the people what they want, which is a couple different things with you. First is, let me ask the question. First is, when are they going to see you start streaming your games again? That's the first question. The second question, because this is the shit that gets in the way, right? Oh, sorry, YouTube. Here.
Do we need to put a little change jar every time that we cuss? Because it's gonna happen. So yeah, you know what I'm saying. So I gotta watch for them slimy suckers on GRG because they're especially like if X-Men come in there and call or.
Once I get over that 1,000 subscribers, we'll get to the point where we can start getting those donations to offset the swearing, right? But
okay. Yeah. See, yeah. Right now,
I'm not there yet. Right now, I just got Anyways, so what I'm saying is, the people want to see you streaming. They want to see us gaming together again.
Yes.
When's that happen, my man? 2023 is here. So, when does that happen?
I could try to do it Saturday. If not, next week for sure. Okay. I will take breaks from The Witcher and from The Witcher for giving the people what they want because they want Fight Night. They want to see me stream some stuff. They want to see it happen. They want to get back to doing what we do.
When's sports night?
Get to the compact.
You're gonna start doing sports night. You talked about it, man. You got to do a sports night for the people.
I do. I do. I got to get. I'm saying I'll hit up Bot and of course Dealer will be down because of course that's all they play is 2K now. And I told them I was going to come back because they hit me up and asked me about it. And I'm even thinking about because King David and them hit me up, Attic and them hit me up was last week. And they were saying, man, you need to get on this Fortnite. You need to get on this Fortnite. I'm like, man, you need to get on this Fortnite. Yeah. And then I keep seeing clips and I'm like, damn, this looks actually really good. So I might start getting on some Fortnite. So I will get back into streaming.
It's the first complete Unreal Engine 5 game on the market right now. Mm-hmm. That's running on the console.
It is.
It's funny how Gears used to be the showcase for Unreal Engine. They used to use that as kind of to advertise the engine to other developers, and now it's Fortnite.
It's crazy. It's crazy. That's what I was looking at it, and I was just looking at these clips, and I'm like, man, this looks amazing. So I will definitely step away from The Witcher. Pretty much during the week, during the daytime. If I'm not going to do a My Thoughts video or maybe be a guest on somebody's podcast or something like that, just leave me be. It's Witcher time. But I'm going to get back. But I'm going to separate. I'm not going to do people like I did Elden Ring, where I just put myself offline because you knew better. That's why you hit me up. And when I was like, damn it, why Don hit me up? He knows I'm offline. No, you knew I wasn't offline. You knew what I was doing. So
I knew, but I don't get offended if you don't answer the call. I get it. I get it, right? And I don't spam you. I'll throw a game invite and I'll throw a party invite and see where it lands, right?
Yes.
It's gaming etiquette, man. Sometimes you have to have proper gaming etiquette, right? I think sometimes certain people that are gamers are raised in barns, man. They're raised in barns. They just don't know any better.
Yes. Yeah, no. There's just people that's rude as hell. What up, Rain? Appreciate you coming through. But yeah, you know what I'm saying. But instead of me talking about all that, I'm definitely going to be doing that. But I'm going to be more free to to get back into streaming, especially get back into my fighters. I love it. Don, I'm telling you this right now, man. I played Street Fighter 6. You're gonna love it. You're going to love it.
I don't want to ruin the experience. I want to wait. I'm excited. I'm excited. Just so you know, I'm excited.
Okay.
But I want to wait for that complete experience.
Another demo. They're gonna do another beta, and if you could get a chance to get in there, sign up to get into that beta, and I advise anybody else to do it as well, just to experience it, because it is the.
You're assuming I can't get in there now.
Oh, well, I mean, of course. Oh, that's right. The dev. Okay. The status. Okay.
I have connections. I can go in there and play it now if I wanted to, regardless if it's open beta or not.
Game is fire.
It looks good.
I love it. I love it.
So is it a watered down experience? Is it so like, do they limit you with the beta, or is it just they just kind of give you everything? Because it seems like there's like a story experience with the game. I don't.
Oh, you don't do the story experience. All you do is just do you can
traditional Street Fighter.
You can train to figure out how to play your character. You can your little avatar. You can go buy some clothes, fit them into their clothes. That's gonna be really crazy. Then you can play people competitively.
So you're saying your custom character. So your custom character is available in the demo?
No, not. You're a custom character. You create your character, put them in there, put some clothes in, walk around, look at all types of other people, how they look crazy and everything else. Mm-hmm. And then how it is a big arcade room, right? Okay. And you go and you have two options. You can go sit at an arcade where somebody else, and then pretty much put your quarter in and battle them, and then they'll accept it or not. Or you could just do the old traditional way and just wait for a match to happen, and then therefore you can play, and where you could just stand there and just wait. I did both ways, and then if you get to a certain level of wins, then there's a tourney where you can play against the higher ends, and then see where you stack against the better players. Unbelievably, I don't know how I did it, but with Guile, I got to that tier, and so I went in there. I went 1-3. I beat the one guy. He beat me first. Then he played me again, and then I beat him, and then he left, and then I played somebody else, and then they wrecked me.
Let me ask you this.
It was really good. But it's amazing.
So the traditional characters, like the Ryu, the Guiles, the Kins, the Blanca, all the classic characters, right? Do they hit that balance of feeling fresh, but also feeling like the traditional character?
Yes. That's what it reminds me, like with Tekken, in a sense of that's a legacy character, and those moves are still there.
Yeah.
But there's different enhancements into the game that makes it feel fresh, especially if you haven't played Street Fighter 3 Third Strike, or if or you didn't play Street Fighter 5, because it's a mix between Street Fighter Third Strike, Street Fighter 4, and Street Fighter 5. It is a really good balance.
Let me ask one more question. So is it, and this is a mark for me where I kind of like, where I say like a fighter is just a fighter versus a something special, right? When they do the iteration, is it almost like a layer to the mechanics, or is it one of those things where they just take away and give, or is it a combination of take away and give and then adding an extra layer to the mechanics? Because I feel like that's how fighters really do well, is when you have that extra layer to something, right? Because it gives you an additional counter to what's going on to the fight to kind of turn the tides.
Yes.
So how would you describe it?
Yeah, no, it's perfect. It's a great balance. The only thing that I think that they might tweak is like people going up and grabbing you, because that is like a lot of people's getaway. Okay. To try when they know that if they don't want to, if they're too eager to want to come after you, and if you get close and if you're not prepared for it to break the grab, then that can get a little bit overwhelming. But like, let's just say somebody's beating you down. Mm-hmm. It's kind of not like where on like certain games where they could just overtake you, just punish. You have one button moves to break out of that. Like pretty much. You got two different buttons. Like if you hit RB. If you hit RB, it's a block, and if it's a parry block, and if you hit that parry block right when they're doing whatever move, it pushes them back and it gives you time to attack or to retreat. And then there's the left bumper move or right trigger, however you want to set up your controller, but it's like a forward lunge, and that's where it has like that killer instinct, all them colors and all that crazy looking stuff.
Okay.
And you lunge into them, and then you can start performing a combo on them, and then it has then the fight pretty much has to reset, or you have the dominant face. But if that person, if they're smart enough or skilled enough, they can counteract you, and you can counteract them back. If you know, that's where it is. That's the layer part of it.
So it has that stalemate effect, right?
Yeah,
that's the additional layer. Okay, cool. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
Cool, really cool.
I'm looking forward to that. In regards to that.
Yeah.
So
it's very friendly because you have two different you got two different sets. You have the regular old school play set where you got your controls, and that's for more people that's more skilled, where they can do more longer combos and things like that. Compared to, they also have kind of like just easy. Some people will call it an easy mode type of control, kind of like with Killer Instinct, when you got like the one button certain attacks and vice versa. But it's more of a thing to where if you're not skilled at doing those moves in a certain way, now you're limited to not doing those full-fledged combos like you would if you aren't if you're not on the old control style, but you're still effective enough, because I've used both of them, and and I've seen the more skilled players use the more complete control set, and I've beaten them handily with the new set, and then I've did vice versa, and because I couldn't play Guile with the new set, but I could play Guile with the old set, so it was pretty. Like I said, it feels amazing already. It looks fantastic.
So is it?
I can't wait.
Is it a button layout thing, or is it almost like what is the different control
button layout?
Button layout.
The button layout. Okay, so for basically the old school way of Street Fighter, just think of like Street Fighter 4, right? And how that layout is. That's the old way. Think about this new way. It's punch. It's punch, kick. And then like the B button is something else, and the A button is something else. Like and that they're like your enhancers, for instance. Like if, let's say you was using Ken and you're doing the uppercut. Well, if you hit B or A, I can't remember which button it is. If you hit B or A, that helps with your enhancer. And if you hit, kind of like with Mortal Kombat, where you hit the right trigger on top of that, that gives, you know how like you get that extender on your special attack. That's the same thing. It's basically the same thing. So it's like I said, it's a lot of it's very in depth. And I can't wait. That's going to be the biggest fighter of the year unless Tekken comes out, and I don't think Tekken's going to come out in 2023. I think it might come out in 2024. But there's no question Street Fighter is going to be king. I think already this is going to be the best Street Fighter that's ever been made, in my opinion.
Cool. So so it's got promise. Well, I'm excited, man.
A lot of promise.
I play a lot of unfinished stuff, so I want to play a finished version. I don't want to spoil it. Like, I don't want to spoil the experience. Let the people that are working on the project, figure everything out. I honestly don't even want to. I mean, you and I having a conversation is different, but the general community opinions about the game, I just don't care either way. Like, I positive or negatively, I'm excited about the game. I want to play the finished product. In regards to that, Street Fighter is talking about evergreen product for me. That's an evergreen product. Is Street Fighter? It's. I remember playing on the Super Nintendo. It was the first game they had stereo sound, and I had two speakers set up, and when you hit the pause button, it made the punch noises back and forth. Yeah. And I would just pause and unpause it. Like, I just have really fond memories of that game. Absolutely. So
yeah, you'll be pleased. You'll be pleased. There's not a person that I've seen that complained about it, because normally, I go in there and I want to, and there's always going to be sorry, it's trash. Not one person. One person. Cool. So that tells you something right there. So but all right, let's get to it. Let's get to the topics.
World's longest intro.
I know, right? I mean, is this GRG? Anyway, no, let's get to it.
Well, all right, man.
let's get to talk straight about I guess I want to talk about Adam Sessler.
Okay.
Let's get straight into that.
What part of him?
Stop it. You know that I'm a huge fan of Adam Sessler. I love his work. I've always admired the man for what he's done, not only for gaming. I think that he's really articulate, a fantastic, just fantastic, and in a great part ambassador for gaming, right? But there's no question the outburst that he had the other day. It was out of pocket. It definitely was. I mean, it was one of the things, and I said this on the video I did the other day, where I just said, like, I think he had his breaking moment. I think because I mean, when you put your work in, and I think going back into the golden era of gaming news, which is in that era of G4 game trailers, all the things that was before that, in between. And even in the beginning stages of YouTube, that's where a lot of these content creators they followed the same passion as what they seen with the direction of how the G4s and stuff like that was. They weren't there weren't objectives. There were people that would definitely let you know what they like, what they didn't like, things like that. But it was more so we give you the information on this and then you decide. And that to me is so missing, even with the gaming media today, because it's just so about being critical instead of just giving people the information and then just moving on and letting people decide on that aspect. Adam Sessler was one of the best at it, in my opinion. His reviews, the best, in my opinion. But I think it all started for him when and I know that he's had health issues and things like that or whatever. I've heard. I've never met the man, but I think where it first started is when, if you remember on the Xbox One, Xbox One, PlayStation 4, when they first came out, he gave the review and he gave the indication that the Xbox One games were the lineup was better on Xbox than it was on PlayStation, and he especially gave a high praise.
You talking about?
I think it was one of his high. Yeah, and it was Forza Horizon 5. I mean Forza 5, and he gave that very, very high marks. I think that was the highest marked game that rated game that he gave, and definitely over anything PlayStation at that time. He got death threats, and it was and what was so bad was because he went out and made it public. Like when he came back on the show, and then when he had an interview or whatever, he brought it up. So obviously it had to be bad, because I'm sure that the man has gotten harassing notes and letters and things like that before. But I think it hit him pretty hard at that point. Then when he did the Rev 3 stuff, that's when it all started becoming objective. And then I remember when there was this one guy, he was a PC guy, but he was giving his thought process about the consoles, and he was very, very, very disrespectful to the consoles, and especially at the Xbox One. He would say, like, I would never buy an Xbox One. I wouldn't recommend the Xbox One. It's a garbage system, blah 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 blah. And everybody else was looking at him like Tara Reid and all the rest of them was looking like, damn, like, but he just came out and said it. And Rev 3 games folded. And then, he was kind of like,
to be honest with you, I didn't even know Rev 3 games existed.
Yeah, no, I used to watch it religiously. I love Rev 3 games.
So.
Yeah, because there was because I love the crew of it. I wasn't the biggest fan of the PC guy because he was always, now when he was on the one part where there was this one girl that would talk about like relationships, sex, stuff like that, when he would go on there and co-host with her, he was fine. But when they started talking about the gaming stuff, he was always PC over everything else.
So was it like nerd culture type stuff?
Yeah. Everything was nerd culture, talking about the galaxies, things like that. I really I watched it a lot, heavy, but it folded. So then now you go and you move forward to G4, this new G4, and just the whole dynamic and everything has changed. It wasn't the G4 of what we loved. I've only watched it a few times.
He also
there was a few things that was kind of entertaining, but whatever.
He helped with Create a Studio 2. Or
with
was it the Jason game, Friday the 13th game?
Yeah,
and then
that game was broken and hideous, and it it still remained. It still was a cult classic because the game, they worked on the game, and people It finally got to the point to
It
where
got
it
a
worked.
really rough launch, and it had a huge following.
Awful launch.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
like the game was supposed to be something else, if I remember correctly. They were making something else, but it had fallen perfectly in line with the Friday the 13th, and then I think it got it reworked into Friday the 13th. So it created this huge,
I believe so.
this huge group of people that were super excited for it. But that
Mm-hmm.
wasn't a good mark on his record too. I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Because that game was
Yeah.
bad, and then when the game got good and people were playing it, it kind of, I think it had that same type of Dawn by Daylight. I think that's the name of the game that's really, really popular.
Yeah.
That was kind of like what that was. And when the game was workable and people could play it and it was a streaming sensation, they shut it down. They just couldn't. I guess they no longer could support it. And so then again, that's another you know black mark on his resume.
Yeah.
And then the whole situation with G4 being shut down. And I think, I want to hear your thoughts about this, but my last point on this is that I think he knew that this was his last hurrah. The man is already older. Um, you know, there is no way that that type of content it can exist in this type of era of uh, gaming, content creators, influencers, things like that. That content is old and done. Now, I may recycle in another 15, 20 years, but Adam Sessler will be a really, really old man at that point in time and definitely probably would not ever want to come back into it. And I think he just had his breaking moment and he was just tired of the gamers complaining, whining, bitching all the time. And so he just lost it. And that was unfortunate because I mean you can't defend all the things that he said, and it just seemed like he just had a breakdown. So, what is your thoughts?
Well, I've seen him do breakdowns with everybody and everything, and I just kind of like there's a pattern that I'm seeing with him that this happens constantly. It's not just a one-off thing. One-off things, I mean, you can forgive someone like that. Like everyone's human. We should all have like a level of forgiveness for somebody and realize no one's perfect and be able to have that out there. But long story short though, like I see this pattern. I've seen him wish death on people. I've seen him, just over political opinions, like not even like super controversial political opinions. You're the other person. Like, here's the thing. If he was in our parties gaming together, he would wish death upon me. and not you, right? Like, but we can be adult enough in game together and realize we just have different opinions on things.
Political idea.
But at the end of the day, we both mean well, right? Like we understand that. And but anything that is critical, you can't accept that. And the reality is, when you're in the public space, YouTube, like we are right now, right? There's people going to hate this content. There's people going to love this content. You just have to come to terms when you're in the public space. That is going to happen. He has the most experience in the public space out of any of us, out of any of the people he's interacting with. He, my favorite work of his is during the magazine days. I think he did really, really good. I think that was his best work. And I think the internet ruined him. I think it was a slow decline and that ramped up to what we see today. And it's one of those things, if it makes it back to him, he'll like throw a jab at me or something like that. Like the reality is I really hope he gets help. And if he's retired from gaming, if it's a little too much for him, then so be it. I'm not going to judge him for that, but he's way out of bounds on this sort of.
He can't come back from this.
No,
he can't come back from
I don't expect him to come back from this. But what I'm saying is that bridge is burned, but I do wish him the best. I really do. Yeah. I really do wish he can find peace with others with different opinions and views, just for his own mental health. Because if it was a family member right now, I would say, let's try to get a wellness check on him. Have someone check up on him. Like, that's the level that he at least represents himself out to the public, in regards to that. And then that's the thing too, is when you're a reviewer, gamers are going to say stuff that you're not going to like. It's going to happen. Like that's That's one of the pros and cons of living in a free world, right? And even when you don't live in a free world, people are still going to be assholes. So it's going to happen,
Yes.
right? So
Yes.
like you just got to learn to roll with it. Just learn to be comfortable in your own skin, and have a grounded look at things so you can self-evaluate when you're off base and when you're not, and always kind of have that in check. And then sometimes you have to take breaks. Like I think a lot of people that we know are content creators or friends and several DMs and stuff like that. I saw a lot of people just took a break. Holidays is here. I'm spending time with the family, and that's good.
Yeah.
They should be doing that, and it allows them to reassess what they're doing out there in the public space. And here's the harsh reality too. I don't think Adam Sessler is the only one that's at this mental place right now. Far as critics go, because a lot of critics just hate gamers. I've noticed, and that's what irritates me as a creator, right? As somebody that's working on products, working on project, I get that. People are going to criticize my work. Some people are going to love it. Some people are going to hate it. Like that just comes with the territory, and all I can do is make the best stuff that I can. But what really bugs me is when they start criticizing the gamers. And sure, gamers can get out of hand. They can project themselves in a very, very poor light as well. But at the end of the day, that's your customer, right? And you're in a space that's more competitive than ever, right? So complaining that you have to review a game and you only have so much time to do it, and then you got an early copy of it and you didn't have to pay for the thing, how do you think that goes over with your gamers? Like your audience, right? That consumes your content. It doesn't go over well. And so what you're doing is you're seeing a lot of reviewers, and it's not just Adam's the extreme, but you see a lot of reviewers burning these bridges with gamers instead of trying to relate and be on the kind of the same level of understanding regardless of how you present yourself. And what's happening now is the gamers can speak, like the landscapes change. You have Game Pass, literally super cheap to be able to try games, right? Look, we saw this with High on Life, right? Got bad reviews. The gamers seem to like it.
Love it.
Right?
Yeah,
They're not complaining they have to play it. they look forward to it. Right? Like that's a good example of a game, and it just happens to be an Xbox exclusive, but a game that is really resonating with the audience, and the critics were just out of touch in regards to that. And I saw other reviewers kind of hate on gamers for liking it. That sort of thing. Like that sort of behavior is just, I expect more of a reviewer, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Consumer, you don't have to expect that level of professionalism because they're a consumer. And you got to keep in mind, if you're a reviewer, gamers are your consumer. If you're a developer, a gamer is your consumer, right? So like you have to look at that relationship and how all that sort of stuff works. And yeah, I think we're going to see more breakdowns like what we've seen from Adam, from other reviewers, that they're just going to have it. They're going to be done with it on gamers, and it's going to be sad.
I think that they're already starting to do it. Like, I mean, you look at the guy that was Jason Schreier, that he'll just block you if you say anything that he doesn't like. And I think that's just, I mean, not everybody has thick skin, and when you're especially in the nerd culture, because this is what this is. I mean, we're nerds. Regardless, I was a jock and whatever. I mean, I'm a nerd. I love video games and video game culture.
I'm the nerd that wears a cool like nerd T-shirt, but not necessarily a silk dragon. Yeah. Right. Like there's different levels of nerd. Right. I gotcha.
You know what I'm saying? I know how to talk to women and I take baths. You know what I'm saying? There's some people that just don't. But I mean, you know what I'm saying? I'm maybe a hybrid. But the thing of it is that when you
don't spray yourself down with the Axe body spray.
No. Just walk around with no deodorant and just spray it. I'll do. No.
Hey girl.
Or just start flapping or something so that you'll get some wind under. I don't know. I've seen some guys do that. I'm like, what are you doing? But anyway,
and girls with some teen spirit is what you're saying.
That's anyway. So, but it is true, it goes even further to when like we've talked about the stuff with like Bobby Kotick and others who have been in a situation to where they were the people that was getting harassed and beat up for being into video games and not into sports or not into certain other things, and now they have crazy power because of the money and the status that they have, and now they're taking that out on employers and I mean their employees, things like things of that nature.
It goes both ways. You're correct on that. Yeah,
right. And
sure.
so now you're looking at the situation now where you got journalists now are tired because listen, there are content creators that could just sit there and just talk the bull like we do and have hundreds of thousands of views. They could say anything. They could say tomorrow was today is a garbage day and get 10, 20, 30, 40,000 likes just because they said that. And then when you got somebody that's doing a review, a journalist, and then they put that out and then they put their review out and only get like maybe 100 likes. That does affect, because these people are the content creators, these influencers. What they're doing is that they're eating off. They're taking the food off the table.
Yeah, you're eating their lunch. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, they're eating their lunch. Like, I mean, it's just the old fundamental way of how gaming news is worked. You can look at it from two different perspectives. There's content creators, I feel like us, that try to be as honest and as forthright and respectful as possible. There's a lot of people that don't like that. They like train wrecks. They like to have a lot of people that wants to argue and fight and just kind of like just make it just a muck up type of situation. And they'll probably hate our content because we try to be a little bit more formal. But it's the thing of it that you have journalists that go and they look at this stuff and they're like, "Are you kidding me? I'm sitting here and I spent all this time doing this." And so yeah, they'll crack. And you're right. There'll be more people that will crack, and it's just a different vibe now. It's just a different thing. Like I think now we're getting back into the era of the snake oil salesmen that are getting all of the attention.
Yeah,
and not people that bring up the facts and things like that. So we're just in that era right now.
But that candle burns at both ends, right? So eventually that stuff will settle out. So I always argue the rising tide raises all ships, right? So as more people participate, like I'm the type of person, I'm going to encourage, beat me at the game of YouTube, do it. I actually would rather have you do it, to be honest with you, because the more content there is out there, the better the content will get, right? And yes, you do have to sort through all the in regards to that, but if you know what I mean, just because you have to sort through all that sort of stuff doesn't necessarily mean good can't come out of it, right? So there has to be
an audience for everything.
Yeah, there has to be that opposition. So, and we're starting to see that with people that are very negative, doom and gloom, or very single-sided console people. We're starting to see people next. We know and we game with, they hit their glass ceiling. They may get a little bit of growth here and there. Some will give, some will take. It's easy for me to say because I haven't really built up my audience yet. But I can look at numbers. I can see what's going on in regards to that, and it's going to be spread over a greater group in regards to that. And so people are going to have to start getting clever outside of just talking behind gameplay. Cool, that worked in 5 years ago, but it's not going to work today, right? You're going to have to learn how to do B-roll footage. You're going to have to learn how to talk on camera. You're going to have to learn how to light a scene. Like, you're going to have to learn how to do stuff. These are all the things I'm trying to build skills at and hopefully get better at. But doesn't mean there's the same path for everyone. And everyone can find different audiences doing different things. And yeah, it's just a learning curve. It just, that's what it all boils down to. And it really sucks to see somebody that I admire their work in the past, bringing it back to Adam. I really do admire his past work. When he was working and doing his job as a reviewer, I felt he was very fair. And I think he did a really good job in his past. Not recently, but in his past, he did a really good job at trying to relate and be as neutral as possible. That's not how he presents himself today. So it's hard to see, it's hard to watch in regards to that. And I think it should be a lesson if you're a content creator, look at what Adam is doing and just don't do that. Do everything you can to end up in the same space he is, either mentally, how he present himself to his audience, all that sort of stuff. Because even if you leave, you're like, I'm out of here, right? You never really want to burn that bridge. It's just better for you, even for your own self-help. Like, even if you're not coming back to the industry, it's better for you in your mental state,
your legacy,
legacy, mental state, reflecting back on what your accomplishments are, all that sort of stuff. It will be better for you not to burn that bridge, regardless if you're never going to do that sort of thing again. And that would be, the thing I would present out to, because there's more content creators than ever before. Like Adam Sessler is one in probably 500,000 out there right now, where it's
a big number.
Where used to be like one in like maybe top 20. Like it's a different space. So yeah, it sucks to see. I hope he finds the help that he needs. He finds the peace that he needs, and he get along with others and gamers, and it's one of those things too. Is people are critical. I think people sometimes need to take a break and game more. Remember why you love the activity that you do. I think that's
when
super
he came
important.
in and he said the stuff about he wasn't the he wasn't a gamer, like that was just seemed like a mental breakdown in a sense of, because I understood some of the things that he was saying. Because I understand it, right? Like, I mean, there are some people out there that uses the platform to hide their identities, to be as disgusting, vulgar as they possibly can be. And and it's all about, your mental fortitude. Like you gotta be able to take it if you're gonna, if you want to do this type of stuff. And it's not only just because of criticism, but it's just because of the wear and tear that it does with you mentally. That's why breaks are very important. Like I see people that I respect in the game, and I see them grinding and pushing, and I'm like, you're doing great. You're pushing out that content. It's amazing, but you're going to hit a wall.
Yeah. Because
trust me, and look, you might go 2-3 years longer than I did, but eventually you'll hit that wall. And then that's when you check yourself and you find, is it worth it? Do you love it that much? Because once it become a problem of, it seems like it's more despair than it is fun and love. Then that you're done. Just take your break or be done with it. And because I know I got an expiration date. I'm not going to do this forever. But I mean, there's no time soon that I plan on bailing out. But But I do feel that once I get to some milestones that I hit, and then we'll see what happens after that. But I just look at it from a standpoint of, I said I was going to do this, and I done it. And some people can judge it for the success of the number or whatever for whenever the day that I'm done. But for me, it's more of the thing, like I said I was going to do this. I fulfilled that done. I'm approaching here. I think another 2 years or so, and then I'll be doing this for 10 years.
Yeah.
So like, and I mean there's a lot of people that don't do a job for 10 years. So you doing content creating and things like this for that long, and then you've gone through the years where you weren't making any money, and then the little money that you make now, it's that, it you have to do it for the love. And I think Adam just lost the love. I think he just did.
If you throw an opposing content creator out there, and it's not necessarily gaming, but it relates to YouTube and the culture of like social media where we're at right now, right? Look at Mr. Beast. Regardless if you hate or love his content or he thinks he's genuine, like I think he is, but he did something the opposite of what everyone else is doing out there. Everyone else is trying to be negative. They try to play. A lot of people will play off of insecurities or being overly critical, right?
Right.
Everything he does is try to be positive and try to improve people's lives. If you really think about it, right? And yes, he gets some clicks from doing it, and he has a business that he runs off of it, right? But he got popular over being positive. There is a market for that.
Mm-hmm.
If you get what I'm saying, the biggest YouTuber out there is doing the opposite of what I'm seeing a lot in the gaming community. So is there a positive way? I'm going to ask the question to myself, and this is how I look at things. Is there a positive way to have good influence out there that, you know, that comes back to me, and there's a little bit of selfishness that comes back to me in growth, but also doesn't lead to this burnout, right? That you see out there. And that's the thing I'm trying to discover, right? Is there a way? And I think there is.
Yeah.
Will I discover it? No, probably someone else will run across it before I will. But that's what I'm targeting personally, in regards to, and it's because of that mental health. And also, like, people don't realize this too, like on the development side of things, sometimes you're just sitting at your desk, you're grinding, right? You're always trying to perfect, like in the case I do a lot of modeling, so like I'm always trying to perfect a model, try and optimize it in a way that it looks just as good as the, you know, high resolution model, learn how to create the LODs, you know, make the rigging look correct, so, you know, the joints don't look like pieces of paper folding, they actually look like arms and knees folding and stuff like that. And I'm always grinding at that, but I even then have to take a break every once in a while, and just because I'm critical to myself, right? It's that self-judging type thing you have to do in that part of the industry. And I go, I got to just play some games. I have to remind myself why I'm doing all this, right?
Are you doing this, right?
And that's your North Star, right? In all this stuff. Just game more. Enjoy gaming with friends, and not talking about content creators, not talking about all this other stuff that's out in the out there. Just game. That would be my message for a lot of people. Bring back gaming, and that will be anyone's North Star. I think people will find success, and I just don't want to see this sort of stuff happen to other content creators, because this is a dark path.
Fortunately, it will. It is a dark path, but
it's a dark path a lot of people are on.
Is.
That you know, you can see it, right? Like when you take a step back, you can start seeing other people are on this dark path, and it's not something I wish for people. So,
yep. Let me read a little something from Yobi. He said that's why he took a break. He also brought up, he said, thanks a lot, Don, because you brought up last year about the coalition was working on a Gears card game, and he says, yeah, they just announced it, which they did. He also said, I decided to take a break right before Christmas, got sick after Christmas fighting with flu for 2 days. I just relaxed and chilled, and I didn't want to be around social media for a while. Just wanted, and you know what? And you know, it took surgery, because I mean, I don't mind looking. I look at social media all the time, but when I was healing and stuff like that, man, I think I may have said one or two things for like 3 weeks. You know, just post, you know what I'm saying, just say a little something about whatever. They had no desire. And, you know, I couldn't really play the game, but I was catching up on watching sports. I was just, you know, watch my politics news, you know, just, you know, hanging out with the wife and family, and, you know what I'm saying, just enjoying everything outside of just the gaming space. So, I mean, this is a good segue to move into the next topic, which is pretty much talking about Xbox's. Xbox gave news, and not about the Oreos, which they look delicious, but
I'm not gonna lie. I told my wife to get some Oreos when she sees the Xbox, because it's her favorite cookie, right? So I'm like, hey, if you see something with an Xbox logo and it's Oreos, make sure to get it, because I want.
Make sure to get it,
man.
Some Halo points.
Those Halo skins. There's not very many of them out there.
No.
I want to get
out of that drip.
Yeah, I want to get the Oreo skin. I'm not gonna lie, and she already eats Oreos anyway. So like, what's the harm?
Nothing, no harm into it. But that's not what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about they have an event. They're having an event on the 25th. It was reported said on Sunday, but the 25th is a Wednesday, so it was either, I was like, it's going to be either on the 22nd or the 29th. But they confirmed today that it was going to be on the 25th. Before I get into what they were going to show, I just want to kind of go into piggyback, kind of like off the last topic, because I'm in a lot of DMs, right? Like I started because I was like, okay, well, I need to know what's really going on. I've been kind of out of touch for a little bit and stuff like that, and so I'm in a lot of DMs, and you know, of course, just reading people on the net, and I was concerned um, about the negativity, the you know, the doom and gloom.
Were they in the Adam Sessler state of mind?
Not like that. Not that bad. But it was, you know what I'm saying? But it threw up like, you know, alert flags in my head. Like, why are you mad? Like, I mean, it's only that, like, it's the 11th now, but I think when people started talking about it was like the 8th and the 9th. Why do we, and especially when the Oreo thing happened, where they were talking about the Oreo stuff, and I roll my eyes too, because I'm like, look, it's not for us, the hardcore, it's for the general media. I mean, for the general public. But I'm looking at it as like, you do know that there are these rumors that's out that's saying that they're going to have an event here coming up soon, like, you know, and it will be, and then they keep saying that it's going to be announced here quick. And then Aaron Greenberg yesterday brought up the fact of saying, look, we got some news for you coming up. But there was people just being so negative, like, well, this and that. And then when the information came out, well, that it came out that it's going to be Starfield is not going to be talked about. I seen a lot of people say it's a L, it's a failure. Why would you not talk about it? Is something wrong with Starfield? Starfield might not come out until 2024. It got so bad that there was somebody that's a content creator that made up a fake rumor on purpose. And there was another content creator that ran with it and posted it as though it was true by saying that Microsoft is exchanging, bringing Starfield and putting in its place Avowed.
Okay, so who cares?
Okay, right, but I'm like, I've never heard no flip flop thing like that ever in the gaming history, gaming world.
If it's true,
but
who cares?
Right, but see, that's it. That's it, right? Like, right. If they got to delay it some more, so be it. Like, there is so much content that's going to be coming out this year. You know what I'm saying? We ain't going to be able to keep up. Like, a lot of these games are going to be played until 2024. And it's not, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just too much. And especially if there's going to be bigger games. There's going to be, you know, the smaller games. They're going to be games that's going to be like continuous. The content in 2023, even if Xbox doesn't deliver everything that they said they were going to bring, just overall in gaming, it's going to be insane. So
well, let's put that in perspective, what you just said right there. Yeah. And it's important to key this out. I like Sea of Thieves, right? Mm-hmm. Right. I can't keep up with what's in Sea of Thieves now. And that game released as sparse as it possibly could be. Like, as a games as a service, we have this onslaught of not available time for this stuff. So, like, I think when you realize that, when you participate in the games that you enjoy, you realize, oh, okay, whatever. If say that news was real, like, it changes your perspective on it entirely. And yes, it's fun to get excited about stuff, but really, like, you know,
that's how I was looking at it. Like, okay, so what if that rumor was totally not true, because the guy even came out and admitted, like, no, I just made it up, but you ran with it. Like, and I'm like, oh my God, like, it's awful. But just to see what the comments were, well, this is a fail. This is not, you know what I'm saying? Xbox needs to do better. They need to let us know what's going on. Well, I don't want a host on it. I don't want people, I don't want this type of person in here. I don't want that type of person in there. I don't want them to do, I don't want it to be 2 hours long. I want it to be only 30 minutes or 15 minutes. I had to step away. I had to just step away and get back on the Witcher. I was like, what am I reading? Like, so you was concerned about the fact that there was that Xbox did not give out any information about this now it's called what, Direct, the Xbox Direct, or Xbox or Direct developing or something like that. I can't remember what
Developer Direct or something like that.
Yeah. Developer Correct. Yeah. You got that information. But now, because Starfield, and there were some people that kind of changed back, was like, okay, cool. Well, obviously, Starfield is going to get their own piece of content. But then there was arguments back and forth where people were saying in these DMs was like, well, Starfield is the bigger game, so therefore it should get all the it should get all of the attention first, and then you talk about everything later. That doesn't make any sense. But again, regardless, like if you felt that way, then why don't you get into directing? You know what I'm saying? Why don't you go and work it? Like I just the over concerned about about something so minute and ridiculous. Like I mean, it's almost clear like Xbox has been shifting and doing things to try to appease the Xbox gamer, that's what they're supposed to do because they want our money. But then again, you're still complaining and saying like, okay, you want something kind of like what Nintendo does, or you want something in between like what Nintendo does and what PlayStation does, which that is absolutely fine. They do, and that seems like what they're going to try to do. But I guarantee you, once they show these games on the 25th, there is going to be Xbox gamers. I'm not even talking about the PlayStation gamers. I'm talking about the Xbox gamers that will still not be satisfied because there'll be something that it wasn't there that they felt like it should have been. And then here they go with it again. And I think that going back to what our first topic was, is that I think that you're too invested. You're too invested. Sit back, like you said, play some games.
Yes.
Relax.
Yes.
Relax. Yes, what do you think?
As your gaming life coach, that's exactly what you should be doing. You should be playing more games.
Playing some games, bro.
Just like if you're feeling that way, play some games. And if you're feeling frustrated when you're playing a game, just turn off the game. Like just
turn on the game. Go grab your girl's ass and watch a movie, watch a game, do something. But stop being overly invested and talking all day and night about Xbox.
Yeah,
about PlayStation.
I would say
stop that. Stop that.
Here's the thing: you as a gamer, and you represent it like differently than me, right? Like it's too much noise with the average, or what would I say, the community of gamers that you follow and stuff like that. I can't keep up with it. It's high and it's low. And it's like I can't make sense of their arguments. They contradict each other all the time. The way I look at it is very similar to, you remember when you got on a merry-go-round, right? And there's that kid that goes, kind of mouth breather, wipes snot on his sleeve, and right when you're like, okay, I'm sick. This is fun for a bit, but I'm sick and I want off the merry-go-round. He comes around and spins you again, and he can't get off the ride. That's what I feel like a lot of times what I see out there in the gaming community, and I can't make sense of it. And you as a gamer that lives on the day-to-day news and you're curious about everything and you consume that sort of stuff and you go like, I'm checking out. What do you think? What do you think PlayStation's doing? What do you think Xbox is doing? What do you think Steam's doing?
Yeah.
Like they're looking at you guys and are like, that's an audience that we appreciate you spending money with us. But at the end of the day, you're going to do what you're going to do, and we have to worry about the bigger audiences out there.
Right.
And this is something I've tried to explain on different podcasts and things like that to our friend Bot. Like this constant complaining that you guys are doing, you're losing your audience that you want to have influence over, which is the publishers and the studios, right? You're losing your voice. And this is something I warned about 3 years in advance, and I think it's coming full circle, and I don't think people realize it. And by the time they realize it, they may have whatever audience that hits their glass ceiling, and that's it. And so this is a little bit concerning to me because I think community voices can be a very positive thing. There's always opposition in all things, right? So like they can be very, very positive if we can have intelligent conversations. And we can have, conversations stating why you feel a certain way or why you like certain things. But to like, for example, like there's some gamers that will look at Midnight Suns, they just will dismiss the game entirely instead of saying, that's not my style game. I'm not going to comment because it's not my cup of tea. It's not what I do. It's not what I play, right? And instead of dismissing yourselves out of the conversation, which they should at times. And then go forward from there. And it's nothing wrong with being critical. Like, critical is fine. You just got to be
critical is fine,
but you have to be in a position where people can relate to you and there's logic behind why you're critical.
Right.
You can have an opinion,
right?
but have a logical backing to that opinion that people can say, okay, well, I don't agree with you on that, but I see where you're coming from. Does that make sense?
Right,
and so now your voice is heard.
Right.
And sometimes you can't appeal all voices. Like, we talk about Halo a lot. There's no way for 343 to apply the people that like the newer stuff and their older stuff together. It just will never happen, right? So they have to make what decision that they feel that's best for them. And that's all studios are in that position that they have to do. But I am generally worried that the gaming community they're out there, they're making noise. Is anyone listening?
Right.
Why would I listen? Right.
Yeah, I mean, and you know what I'm saying? There's people that still listen, but it is far in between compared to what it used to be.
Yeah.
As somebody who's been here now, who's been doing this for a while now, it is clear that they are starting. It's like you've been saying, and it is slowly they're starting to just not. They're listening to certain different content creators. Not all, because they used to listen to everything back in the days.
Yeah.
And sometimes used to come in and introduce themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And talk amongst Mikey Barr used to do that all the time. Like, he used to come into people's podcasts and say what's going on, what's happening, wanted to listen to the banter and the back and forth. Those were the healthy days, right? Like, those were the days that was fine. But then when it got to the point to where when Mikey Barr would come into something, and then there would be a PlayStation fan or somebody who was just wanting to be just wanted to show off, go in there and call them something, ex-slave or some kind of crazy stuff, and say Phil's your daddy and all that kind of crazy ignorant garbage. Like, that's when you overstep the line. The person is here that has control of making something that you might want. I mean, that you are looking for and that you want, and they're willing to listen to you.
He's not on the clock.
You're willing to be disrespectful, and he's not on the clock.
He's not on the clock. This is spare time, man. It's a spare
time. So it's crazy. And like, he would game with people, and I remember he was telling me, like, because he was playing Path of Exile, and I started playing it, and I was playing it a lot. And then he was so far ahead of me, and he was like, "You get your weight up, you can come and join me." And I never did, but because he was just too far. Then I was jumping. That's when the time I was jumping from game to game to game to game to game.
He's very much like Pred, like how did he get that far in that time? He just beelines
hardcore.
It.
That's it. Beelines it, right? So, but that's what I'm trying to explain. Like, these people do listen. And they'll tell you, like, and even though, and now they don't come in and they don't say. It's just like now when I'll listen to a podcast or two, well, about 4 or 5 or whatever, and then I don't comment. I'll just listen. I'll be playing a game or watching sports or whatever while the podcast is going, and I don't mention anything, because there's sometimes and for the most part, like, if it's a pro Xbox, people are cool, but if I just listen to something because I just want to hear what PlayStation community or the Nintendo community say, I ain't jumping in there and saying anything, because the first thing is like, oh, you blah, blah. And I'm like, nah, bro, I don't got time for that. So, and then it gets me to a point to where I just stop listening. Like, it's wasting my time.
Yep.
And so I'm sure, what I'm saying, and I'm a content creator. I'm not a person that's working on these games or anything. So just imagine how they feel.
Yeah.
And I understand that, look, there will be pushback from people, and I welcome the pushback. But they will tell you, well, they work for us. You're right. But they don't work for you to be ridiculed for everything. These people have put their blood, sweat, and tears and talent behind what they're doing. And they can only do so much. There's budgets, there's other things involved. Well, it's just not like because you may want a certain game to come out right now. Though.
Completely incorrect statement. They work for us.
What?
No.
Oh, they say that. There's a lot of people that say that.
I know they say that,
pushback.
But that's completely incorrect. They work for their publisher.
Right.
A publisher is trying to put out a product that applies to...
It's going to make them money. Right.
Make them money and find an audience. You may not be part of that audience. And that's a hard thing for gamers to hear, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that's the reality. They work, you're a development company, your studio, you work for a publisher. you would hope gamers would buy your game, but
Right.
that's the publisher's problem, right?
Right.
So that goes from every decision they make, from microtransactions to loot boxes to seasonal content, whatever it may be. That's what they're trying to do. And you also got to keep in mind, you may not be the target audience. Hate to tell you that,
Right.
right? Like,
Yep.
and target audiences change all the time. It can be frustrating, especially when it's a franchise that's one of your favorites. But that harsh reality, they may have moved on, and it's a hard thing to hear. And even me understanding that stuff, like that relationship, it's even hard for me to kind of feel like, oh man, well, I mean, I got all these accolades, working as a developer. I'm a gamer. I've been doing this for X number of years, and then they won't even give me the time of day sometimes. Like, that happens, right?
Yeah.
And how's an average gamer supposed to do? Oh, you have to have X number of followers. So is that what we're doing here? It's based on the followers. Sometimes it's not, right?
Yep. Sometimes it is. Yeah.
So it's one of those things. You just kind of have to come to the terms. You can put out what you want to put out there. Hopefully it's being heard. Hopefully you can articulate it in a good way, and then go forward from there. But yeah, it's the thing is, Xbox is going to do what Xbox feels like is right, and they're going to have missteps, and they're going to have great things. I think where, if I was going to be critical of Microsoft and where they could have done better, is to set up the expectations, right? The Game Award people. There's a certain audience at the Game Awards look for what the latest and greatest is. If you're not going to have a presence there, that's when you should have announced it before that.
Right. You should have announced it. Right. I agree with that.
You should have done it in a respectful way. Appreciate Keeley and the efforts that he's done. But we feel the venue for our new upcoming products is better done in 2 sessions in 2023. Wait for future reference of what we're going to be showing prior to E3. Like, that wasn't that complicated for me to say. I said it off the top of my head, right? Right. But that changes the conversation, right? And it allows Microsoft to steer the conversation. There's going to be naysayers and stuff like that, but it has somebody go, okay, they're going to be showing something in regards to that. So, and then, expect Aaron Greenberg's always going to try to hype up whatever he's doing. That's his job.
That's his job.
He's the hype man.
His job.
He's the hype man. Regardless if it's a small thing, he's going to hype it up. When there's the big thing, he's going to hype it up. So you as a consumer, like, you're the consumer, you should set the expectations of what have they done lately, and go forward from there, and look at it from that perspective. But Microsoft's not going to be able to please everybody. Sony's not going to be able to please everybody. That's the harsh reality of all that sort of stuff. Even Steam bugs some of their audience in the Epic Store, and Nintendo does at times. So just, my thing is, there's a journey. I'm excited to see what they're going to do. I'm excited about seeing what Starfield's about, but I don't think I'm interested in the game. It doesn't matter to me if it has a big showing or a little showing. It's not one of those Bethesda games I'm interested in. But if they show some Indiana Jones stuff that they've 100% confirmed they are working on, I'm curious about that, because Machine Games is working on it, and I like their shit a lot. So I'm really excited if we get to see that. I'll tune in for sure. But Forza,
well, I mean, they're going to show Forza, so they're going to show Forza, and now hearing that Redfall is going to be like Borderlands, I'm definitely all in to want to know more about that game now, because I thought it was going to be more like a Left 4 Dead or something like that, and I'm like, that will be great to play for about maybe 3 months, and then after that, it's going to lose its luster. But if you got something like Borderlands, that's going to be something that's really going to be really cool, because that's because I was late to the party with Borderlands, as you know it, and so I'm like, let's see what this game's about, because I looked at it and I wasn't as excited as Xbox was for it, but I'm like, okay, we'll see what it's like. But now hearing about what the context will be more like, or how the genre will follow, I'm more intrigued. But of course, Forza is everything for me, and I am excited to see what they do with Starfield, because that's going to be a game that I'll lose myself in. if it's anything like what I think it's going to be.
Yeah.
And but then there's the complaints about the 30 frames per second. Well, the game might be 30 frames per second. Okay. All right.
Well, you shouldn't be
So
building your reputation off frame rate in the community out there. I think that's a amateur move.
that's what, like,
Yeah.
yeah, there, I think one of the worst things is when PC gaming,
They get painted into a
PC
corner,
PC
sort
yeah,
of thing.
came in and started to talk for console gaming and try to make this into, and try to, implement both worlds. PC, it's its own entity. And you can get a lot more different things done on PC than you can do on consoles. But the same thing that I was looking at, I was I was reading a post where somebody said, well, we should demand for 60 frames per second games going forward with, and not settle for less. I'm like, good luck. Good luck with that.
Well,
I mean,
the target always
this has
moves.
been talked about for 13 years, Don.
But the target's always going to move. Like the reason why people need to understand the relationship, right?
Yeah.
If you make a more demanding game, you add more systems in place, you have to make a decision on frame rate pretty early on in development. And most studios do. They do a lot of prototyping to try to figure out what draw distance matters, what's the timing on things, get a rough outline of what the game is supposed to be. And then they have their targets, right? So usually when you see a console game on thing, they don't land at 30 frames per second by accident. They made a conscious decision early on. They make animations based on that early on. They do a lot of decision making early on. And the same thing goes for 60 frames per second on games. I keep reminding people, last generation, we could have made all of our games 60 frames per second if they prioritized that first. The compromise would have had to be made. There's always compromises on every game. And there's this idea of, like, now you make machines more and more powerful, that then you'll never have to compromise that. Well, depends on what you're making in regards to that. Depends on what uses those resources. And it depends on the type of game that you have. You can't just shoehorn every element of a game exactly the same. You can't say every game has to have ray tracing or else. Everything has to be at 4K or else. Everything has to have X number of polygons or else, right? Like, that's not how games are made. They're not made in this cookie cutter vacuum sort of thing. Like, they're very dynamic. They have a lot of demands on the hardware, and it's always constantly going to be in flux. Now, that being said, PC hardware has the advantage of the fact that there's not a price cap, right? So when people argue about talking points like native resolution, or they talk about things like frame rates and stuff like that, they're basically, what they're doing, they're saying, hey, if you have the money, you can have whatever you want, right? And what the developers doing, to be fair, is they're not overly optimizing on PC. That's never really been a thing, even though when people say this game's really well optimized for PC, the reality is they're just moving the needle just enough for the different performance profiles that people may have, that this may work, right? And they're not getting the optimized experience like you typically get, like when you have like a single setting on a console. And usually when that's compromised on a console, and these are just relationships, it's important to understand this stuff. So when you start asking for things, you know what you're asking for. When you start saying, hey, I want a game to have multiple different settings, that's fine. But the trade-off is you're not getting an optimized setting for that console, right? So there's trade-offs on all this sort of stuff. And then there's other things like DLSS3. I've been messing around with that stuff. It adds latency to things. So yeah, you got more frame rates, but it adds adding latency. I'm sorry, it does. Certain upscalers add latency, so you have to balance that stuff out too. So it's not just about frame rates, it's about responsiveness in regards to that. And so there's not a one solution for everything in regards to that. And I think people having their self set in stone like that are missing out on good experiences. And
no
ultimately,
doubt.
and ultimately, as a creator, like, it's not my game that's at 30 or this game, right? But I know what those developers went through to order to make those decisions, and it's not something they land there by accident. And at the end of the day, their goals are still the same, which is make the best possible game they could for gamers. And I think that should be kept in the back of their mind. Like that's what developers do. That's what they try to do at all times. In regards to, and sometimes it doesn't land. I get it. But there's some 60 frames per second games don't land either, right? Like it happens all over the board. And I appreciate if there's extra horsepower and they can utilize it, by all means, do it. As long as it doesn't break the game in any sort of way, there's nothing wrong with that. But also, if developer decides 30 is the best solution for what they're doing, so be it. I'm not gonna criticize them as long as they make a good game, as far as I'm concerned. So
Yeah,
that's a long rant,
no doubt about
but
it. No,
it's a bigger subject out there
for
what
it's a subject. It's just part of just kind of everything that's kind of been what I've been seeing here for the last 6-7 months. Well, it's been longer than that, but I mean, I just kind of I'm over it. I'm over the 30, 60 frames per second. I do wish that they could have the implementation of performance mode or frames per second mode to more games, which they do for the most part. But if it just isn't there, then just wait.
Well, it's a trade-off.
Just get a PC. Yeah,
but that's
just get a PC.
But that's a trade-off. So, like, say you have non-optimized modes, but you have more modes. You as a gamer, now that we had this conversation, you understand that you're not getting the most optimized experience. The perfect example of this, if you look at, it's an extreme example, but we looked at Saints Row. That's a perfect example of non-optimization, right? And you didn't know what to look at. You didn't know what experience to do, right? You just randomly picked one. And you're like, man, this game, okay. I had to go through, try all the different modes and tell you, like, this is the one to do. You're like, oh, that looks better now, right?
Yeah.
Right? And that's a good example of, just the game's not optimized, right? If they chose a mode they felt was the best for their game, that game probably would look better than any of those modes. This is a perfect example. So everything comes at a compromise, if that makes any sense. So when you're asking for things, you always, and this is always a short-sightedness, I think, of everyone, like, and it's just human nature in general.
Yeah.
Like we've seen this argument of loot boxes, right? Like people are like, I don't want loot boxes. They want to take this weird high ground with everything, and now they're like, ooh, I don't like the alternatives. Well, maybe you should have thought of that before you died on that hill, right? Like that,
right?
So that's just one of those things.
Yeah, it is. It definitely is. But I am looking forward to it. So motorsport is definitely what we'll be looking forward the most. I know I'll tell my homeboy about Elder Scrolls Online. What is it? ESO.
Yeah.
And I'll let him know to check that out because that's all he plays. So, but but Forza, I'm going to look forward to everything that they show. I just, but Forza is going to be probably my number one thing. And then if they show something new that we don't know about that's going to be dropping, or what we heard of, like you was talking about with Indiana Jones or something like that, that's going to be intriguing as well. But I just, I'm just happy that that we're going to find out about this content and get some dates, hopefully, and then just keep it moving and get ready for the onslaught, because by the end of the month it begins. And the first game that I'm going to want is Wanted Dead, and that's not going to be on Game Pass or anything else, so I'm going to have to buy that one. Yes. I'm going to have to buy that, cat. So you know what I'm saying. So I am looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to that for sure.
Well, this is, and I look at this, and that like Phil and the team at Xbox and Aaron Greenberg, they're looking at their portfolio, right? And yes, they keep pushing things back, and people are like, when are they going to show stuff? But they keep inquiring studios, right? In this case, they acquired publishers too, right? So they keep doing this sort of stuff. We all know there's a floodgate that's going to open. Eventually, it's
going to open.
Yeah,
right.
It's eventually going to hit us. And in the question, you get to a point where like you can't be showing stuff years out because like shit, man, like you have too much to show.
Too much, yeah.
To keep the attention span of the people who are going to be consuming your products. And to be honest with you, numbers have shown the further you show something out, the less effective that actually is in a modern day of marketing. The 6 months out is the best way to do it. And that's, that sort of thing was broken by Apple like a long time ago, right? Like we're just now starting to come to realities like when you start showing something and all of a sudden it's available for order like right afterwards.
Yeah.
Like that's really helpful when you're fresh in people's minds and you have a good take on something. So yeah, so it's going to happen, and I guess we keep questioning when is it going to happen, what is it going to be, in regards to that, and I'm patiently waiting. Like it's going to happen when it's
Yeah,
going to
me too.
happen. I don't want anything
I've been
rushed.
enjoying my gaming. Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't.
I'm not in a rush.
I don't want anything rush, and as long as they keep flowing the third party content, I know the first party content is coming. I bought my Xbox on Goodwill. That's going to happen.
Yeah.
Same like reason why people bought PlayStation for things they haven't seen yet. They bought it on Goodwill because of they like their content. And same thing with Xbox. I mean, Xbox gets criticized for Gears, Forza, and Halo. Hate to tell you those were some of my favorite games. So they better be bringing Gears, Halo, and Forza. And I would hope they bring.
You damn right.
I hope they bring it on a regular basis. I mean, that's one of the reasons why I buy the damn console. So,
Yes.
like for me, like as I said, Forza is one of those things, and I'm invested. Like I've told you about the new gaming room I'm building downstairs. And that new gaming room I have a space carved out specifically for a racing sim. And guess what? That's I'm gonna play other racing sims too, but the one I'm gonna spend most of my time probably gonna be Forza on there.
Motorsport,
Yeah,
yeah.
I want to have the high-end steering wheel and the high-end monitor that's curved around me and all that sort of stuff that comes along with it. They have that immersive racing experience that's just amazing on something like that, right? So, and I'm also looking forward to what they're doing with that engine. I'm curious, right? Like,
yeah. What are they going to have? Rally races like I predicted? Or are they going to get? I mean, I'm looking forward to it. I mean, I cannot wait.
I bet you rally races is coming, but I don't know if
it'll be
it's
like DLC.
Well,
I think they might try to do.
I don't know if it's even going to be. It's going to be like almost another iteration of Forza. I think.
Well, I think this is. Well, I think this is kind of like a continuance. I think from what the rumors were that Forza was going to be like a continuance type of game, like Sea of Thieves, in that sense. And I think that what they'll do is they'll add like the DLC like they do with Forza, and like they do, like with Snow Mountains, things like that. They'll do that with the rally and stuff like that.
I think it's going to be a third standalone.
Okay.
So that's how I think they're going to go with the rally, because I want them to bring rally to that engine and see what they can do.
It's long overdue.
Yeah,
it's long overdue.
Yeah, so you're going to have like the Horizon, which is the open arcade-ish one. You're going to have Motorsport, where I think is kind of a closed track racer, right? And then you can have something that's like traditional rally and rally cross, like dirt aspects, like the trophy trucks, anything that's on dirt, essentially that's part of motorsport, kind of be its own thing, in regards to that. And I would buy that in a heartbeat. I would be excited for that. But
speaking of that, there's a racing game that I picked up called
Dakar.
Dakar, yeah, Dakar Desert. Let me read Dakar.
It's a real famous truck
Desert
style
Rally.
race.
Yeah, I never played that franchise. I always kind of looked at it. It is not bad. It's not bad. The car's a little slippery sometimes or whatever, but you miss some turns or whatever. It looks beautiful. It's not on Forza's level by any stretch but it is. I think it's a good quality racer. So I mean, that's another racer that's added to the list on top of Need for Speed Unbound, which I'm hyped to get back into. So
I've downloaded and I haven't even started it yet.
It's really cool, man. But it's kind of I'm in The Witcher, and so that's that type of situation going on.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and move on to the next topic. To the last one. And that's going on with Ubisoft. Heard some news, that's been going out here lately, and it's basically saying, let me go back to the top of this, right? It says Ubisoft definitely already did the rounds, proposing acquisitions and mergers with other similar companies, and it mostly got laughed at. That rumor came from Jeff Grubb, and it said,
Okay.
Also, that the 3 games that they had slated to come out, they canceled them, and also, um, Skull and Bones will be delayed yet again. So, and then also there's this other report saying that the head of Ubisoft, he said, after a terrible 2022, I forget how you pronounce his name, Guillemot, something like that. Tells staff next year is crucial, telling him in an email that the ball is in your court to deliver on time, on budget. Today more than ever, I need your full energy and commitment to ensure we get back on the path to success. I don't know. What do you think about that? Like, I mean, it sounds. I mean, from what what the gaming news and media is coming out and saying is that this is definitely a pretty serious situation going on with Ubisoft. And if they were trying to propose themselves to get acquired and nobody didn't want to bite, I mean, obviously that means they must have been asking for a crazy price amount. But
Well, it's acquisitions
I mean,
or
what is the value
mergers.
of them?
Well, the key thing is
Yeah.
acquisitions or mergers. So the question is, they must have had a
Okay.
couple things on the table, I'm assuming, based on that
Yeah.
wording.
Yep.
And people felt like it just wasn't worth. That's the thing, is like, say you're EA, right? And
Yeah.
and Ubisoft comes up to you and says, "Hey, man, would you be interested in, becoming one entity?" They can easily just say, it's, it just, like, they were like, well, if you're hurting that bad, well, why don't we just put out more games on time and then just beat them at their game, right?
Right.
Like,
Right.
so we can either merge with you, or we can say no. They can overestimate the value of what they're doing. And the thing that also people kind of have to understand, this is where people always get mad at, like, investors and stuff like that. Investors are the people that allow you to make your shit, right? So, like, if it allows you to make your stuff, what you're seeing, I think, on the investor market, you're starting to see is people are going, okay, I have, let's say, $1 million. I can get quicker return or better return on my investment if I take my $1 million here versus within gaming, if that makes any sense. Or I can take that $1 million and be an investor on EA. I'm just giving a hypothetical round number, right? But what that tells you is investors want the thing that's going to be the quickest return on their cash, right? That's always a general, like, interest that they have. And I think maybe they're fighting against that. Maybe there's too many projects that took too long in the pipeline in regards to that. I mean, we used to see what is it, Assassin's Creed titles every single year. Now they spaced them out, right? Maybe that doesn't bow well with investors. They do well when they release, but people wait out for a long time, right? Or if you take,
but Valhalla is the best selling Assassin's Creed of all time.
Yes, but they like to see continuous revenue come back.
Right.
They'd like to see that, right? So a good example, we've seen this in the past. So look at Grand Theft Auto, probably one of the most successful games, right?
Oh, all time, yeah, no doubt.
Man, investors were pissed how long that game took to come out, right? Because they have invested so much in 2K, and 2K is not releasing the game, right? And they kept pushing it back. Now, obviously, Rockstar did the right thing for the product in the long term. You can look at the success of it now and say, well, they were right. But it doesn't take the fact that someone has took money that they had liquid that they can no longer spend as an investment into this thing, right? And they're not getting that return. That you start feeling the pain, especially in a situation where you have, like, a recession, right? So, like, now you start looking at it, people are like, oh, all this money that I have, I would be fine, but now it's all tied up in Ubisoft. Does that make sense? And Ubisoft is not generating profits for my investment. They will, But the question is when, right? And so that's where it becomes that sort of conversation. So it's a different way of looking what's going on out there, and maybe just that's how their investors feel. It feels like it's been taking too long. If the investors, I think, honestly wait it out, I think they'll get their money back. I think Ubisoft has shown they've been very profitable over the years, in regards to that. But I think they're feeling the pressure of how much time they're taking on everything, and it's coming to a head, in regards to that. And especially everyone gets nervous, right? Like things are changing in economically right now for everybody, right? Makes me nervous about things, and I'm usually pretty okay. You know what I mean? Like I get it. So that's more or less what's going on there. So it's rough. I think also too. I think they had this all planned out, and I think they were hoping that they would be able to shop around. I bet they were hoping Microsoft was in the realm to purchase things, but they're not in that spot right now because of what's going on with Activision.
Yeah, with the ABK deal. Yeah.
Yeah, and
at this point right now, I mean, even though to me, more and more it looks like that deal is going to go through. Because Microsoft has already said, look, even if the FTC does sue us, so what? All we care about what is the EU and what CMA does, and I think that we've done enough to get them to be satisfied. So, whatever, we'll pay the fine or take it to court. And
they don't have a good argument. That's the problem, right?
No, the FTC's argument is garbage.
Yeah, if you look at the merits of it, regardless if you're pro Microsoft or not, the argument doesn't have good enough merits, in regards to that. And the lot of the focus is on the hotness, which is obviously Call of Duty, in regards to that. But Microsoft's offering a better deal than Activision ever would to any platform. If Microsoft wasn't even involved, offering a 10-year, hey, promise we'll
10-year,
that doesn't exist with any third party. With any game, any third party,
with any game or even in business. Like I mean, in any other type of business, I've never seen anything. But we'll work with you for another 10 years. Like I mean, that is just absolutely ridiculous. Like I mean,
I would just focus on just a game in general, right?
Yeah, just a game. Yeah, right.
No platform provider has that deal for Battlefield.
No.
Madden. No, you take Assassin's Creed, big titles, right? Like big third-party titles, NBA 2K. No, Microsoft doesn't have that promise from any of those people, nor does Sony have that promise by any of those people, or Nintendo. That does not exist. 10 years is 2 console generations traditionally, right?
Traditionally, right.
So, like, and then who knows where Call of Duty will be. I mean, we all kind of try to predict the fall of Call of Duty.
I'm not writing off Call of Duty anymore. I tried to when it was at its lowest part.
It will fail. It'll fail eventually. It'll fail eventually, but it may not happen in our lifetime. I don't know.
Yeah, it might not. Yeah. I'm not going to ever say anything bad about COD anymore. It is the cash cow of cash cows.
But the point what I'm trying to drive home is we just don't know what the long-term success of that product is, right? Right. No one knows, and they have that promise of 10 years, and it just the arguments just don't hold up in regards to that. Yeah, like
right.
Look at Fortnite, for example. Fortnite was a nothing game when middle of last generation, a nothing game.
Nothing game. I bought it day one, and it died like in a month.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying, and then then it just it seen what PUBG was doing, and they just went ahead and said, all right, let's do it ourselves. Yeah. And now people don't even really talk about PUBG anymore like that.
Yeah, and they no one could have predicted that, like in regards to that. So that's what I'm saying is like you just don't know what the next hotness is going to be. It may be first party, maybe third party. It could be a lot of different things. But at the end of the day, it just, I think people, the real value is, the IPs are nice and all, but I think the real value in Activision is the talent.
Yes,
right?
Because they'll help. They can, just like how Activision helped Bungie, they can help 343, and they can help whoever else that wants to get into that type of games as a service.
Well,
because Activision knows what they're doing.
well, and you can also kind of cut back on the Call of Duty meat grinder, right? Like I call
Yeah,
it, right? Like where they just grind talent until
pump one every year. Yeah,
they're
yeah,
done. Like I would
yeah.
be, I only acquire Call of Duty once every 3 years anyway. So like to me, like if they waited every 3 years and did like the service thing to kind of tie you over, and they had additional content they wanted to do, like
Well, I think that's kind of like their plan. Like
maybe,
it's kind
yeah,
of
we'll
like
see,
going to do like what Battlefield does.
maybe,
To where it's like every 2 to 4 years, to where they drop new content. It's according how successful that COD is. Because the next one that's supposed to be coming out is going to be Advanced Warfare 2, and that's day one, and I enjoyed this last COD. I played it heavily until um Midnight Suns dropped. Played it heavily. I'll
yeah,
get back to it once I get back into my online spot. I mean, kick, but
yeah,
um, I had a good time with it. I had a really good time with it. So yeah, no, just do the Warzone 2.0. Heard really good things about that, and then just like just do it like Battlefield. That's smart. So, but anyway, back to what we were talking about with Ubisoft. I
yeah,
think that I think um for me, I'm a big fan of Ubisoft. I love that because they take chances, they take risks, and now it looks like they finally got hit with the bug to now they can't take those risks like they used to. And I think that they're going through their EA phase because now I think EA starting this year is going to start kicking in all cylinders. It
maybe,
seems like now EA is going to start becoming that game that is that studio that is going to start getting beloved again. I really do think that because the games that they got slated to come out, people are not looking at it as, oh, this is just same old EA, this is just whatever. Everybody's looking at these games like, whoa, the 3 games that we know that's coming out for sure this year. One game I don't know for sure, but it's been slated to come out this year. Dragon Age 4. But you also got and I was just looking at that game. What was that game called? I was just looking at it. It's the one kind of game that's like Monster Hunter. That's coming out here pretty soon. From them, I think it comes out at the end of this month or early February. And then you're going to have the the Jedi
Fallen
Fallen
Order,
Order.
yeah,
Yeah, and like I think EA is going to start doing it, but look how long it took EA to start getting back into the gamers' good graces. I think that Ubisoft is in that phase because what they were trying to do was do these free to play games, the free to play model, and they looked at it because that seemed to be a popular thing, but it just isn't resonating like that with everybody now. There's only
no,
just a few games that can get away with that. And so now that was probably one of the 3 games that they've canceled. Skull and Bones, if you release this now with the onslaught of good content that's going to be coming out at that same time, it is going to get overlooked. So I see why that they would push that back. And then, you look and everybody's been asking for Splinter Cell. You have not given Splinter Cell. We don't know what's going on with Prince of Persia.
but there's a new Star Wars
And
game coming from. It's supposedly a really big game.
yeah, that's going to be a big game. Yeah, thank you, Yobi. Star Wars Jedi Survivor.
Yeah,
And so like I think just Ubisoft I think the Heartland game is still going to come out, but that's going to be a free to play. I don't know how that's going to work or going to fare out. I'm looking forward to giving it a shot because I love the Division, but I just don't know the free to play model. Is it going to be because some free to plays, I mean, most free to plays I just don't bother with.
it works for some,
But
it doesn't work
we'll
for
see.
others,
Yeah.
right? Like it's not an
Right.
all-in-one
Right.
solution for every single game out there, right?
Right.
And so you do kind of have a planned business model around
Mhm.
what free to play works for. Does it work for your game or not? Like,
Right.
and I think also a lot of studios or a lot of publishers, I should say, they're feeling the pinch of. I honestly think releasing products that are not refined. Let's call it that, right?
Mm.
Not polished.
Mhm.
and they release rough. I think that's really affecting their bottom line.
Yeah,
And
that's a problem.
yeah, and so it's a problem they created in regards to that. So that's something that I think gamers sometimes are a little bit worried about. You hear any little thing and they go, well, guess not. Guess I'm not playing that game, right? Because they don't have time in regards to that. So then the market changes. So like if we release a game that's good, but man, it's polished when it comes out, you're the talk of the town. If you get where I'm
Right.
going with that, right?
Yeah.
And so like now you become not just another game that's broken, you become a game that stands out. So I think that pendulum has swung way too far for them, and they're paying the price. And it's not just
Yeah.
Ubisoft that's paying the price; a lot of other publishers are as well. And I think they try to fix that by holding back, and I think that comes at a cost. It's a higher risk, right? It's a higher bet because
Right.
you're
Yeah.
spending money. It's not like you're not spending money in that time frame. You're paying staff to work on games. So at the end of the day, that sort of product is at a higher risk. They place bets there, right? So they have to land those games. They can't land those games in kind of a hot mess fashion. They have to be polished and refined.
Yeah, they got to be right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I think game.
oh, where did K Mega go? Oh, Mega's gone. Well, that being said, there,
That
guys.
you.
Wait a second here. Is Mega back?
No, I'm here. I'm here. I didn't leave. What happened? You hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right. Yeah. Yeah. I heard the blue blue, but I didn't know what was going
Oh,
on.
yeah, your
So,
camera went off.
my camera did stop. Oh, that's crazy. Let me go back. Oh, here.
All right.
Okay.
Sorry,
I'm back.
guys. Do you what? What were you saying there, Mega? I was
I
stalling
don't
as
know.
I'm
That
trying to
was kind of
fix it.
crazy. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was wild. But anyway, yeah, no, I just think that overall, Ubisoft, like I said, I love Ubisoft games, but they have been kind of hard headed on wanting to bring out. I mean, you should have brought out a Splinter Cell years ago, and you should have brought out a Assassin's Creed in feudal Japan or something Eastern. You know, that should have been happened. So I think that it's one of those things where it's kind of like they've kind of been playing their cards to the chest too much instead of just bringing out some of the content, because you could still bring out some of the stuff that you brought out, but there's no reason for you not to give what the people want, and especially when it's in high demand. So I think I think that there's a little bit of frustration, because I loved Watch Dogs 2.
Oh, that's right.
I thought Watch Dogs, yeah, I love Watch Dogs 2. I thought it was fantastic, but I could barely get through Watch Dogs 3. So, and I think that they should have waited on bringing Watch Dogs 3 and then brought something else instead. Now, the one game with Phoenix Immortal or something like that, that is a fun game. That is a really cool game. Like, can't wait to see a sequel to that. But then you also had like the game that we played and we beat that we enjoyed. We enjoyed um, uh, Ghost Recon
Mm-hmm.
Breakthrough. I think that's what it's called. But
I don't think it
you
was a
got the
big
Ghost
success.
Recon.
Yeah.
Well, the one before that was the success. The other one, the one that we played and beat, that didn't do so well.
Yeah.
Because you know what I'm saying, because it just didn't do that well. Now I want to go back because I know they added a lot more content and play it again, because I know that they've done some things, but it's just like what you was alluding to. The game came out broken. It wasn't, it was really difficult to get through. And so, and then of course, like that Ghost Recon name, people are synonymous to more of the old traditional Ghost Recon. They could have named that game anything else, and I think they would have been fine. But the gamers are demanding something from Ubisoft that is familiar, and Ubisoft just keeps on bringing stuff, except for Assassin's Creed and Watch Dogs. that isn't familiar, and I think that's part of their problem, and I think it's gonna take them a little while before
Well,
they get out of
Assassin's Creed's going a different route, right? Because they've gone the unfamiliar route with Assassin's Creed the last couple. We enjoyed them, but they're not traditional Assassin's Creed. So
they're
losing
doing the traditional, but
they're losing their audience. So therefore, they're doing both now, right? They're doing something that's a little bit more like
they're doing both. I don't know if they lost their audience when Valhalla was the best selling. I mean, maybe they're losing interest because those games are getting they were so big, because Valhalla, even though it wasn't on the scale of how you look at it with Odyssey being as big as it was, it still felt like it was bigger, and especially the DLC. It felt like a bigger game.
You can still have a more successful game and still lose an audience, right? Like what you're doing is you're generating new interest, right? So
right.
And I think that's what they've looked into, and this reason why they're doing something that's more traditional and doing something that's more new age in that particular thing. And I think they're learning to expand their audience. I think honestly they look at the fact that they rubber stamp their games a little too much, right? Same product, same product, and that gets a little tiresome for their audience, and every publisher does it to some degree with their iterations of their successful products, and so I think they looked at it and said, hey, look, we're burning the candle at both ends. We have to address the quality of our launch of our products. We have to diversify our products. We have to cater to new and old audiences. And I look at everything they're doing. There is strategy across the board, and I just think with recession, and you have investors want to liquefy their assets, and those are two combinations that do not go well with taking longer to produce a product. Those are a conflict of interest in regards to that. But the fact that they are taking longer, I'll use the Grand Theft Auto scenario every single time. You take that additional time, you build something special. The legs on that product are going to be longer if you do it right. And if you do it right, you can go forward from there. I mean, look, you can look at just 2K. Like I'll use 2K for example. You look at Grand Theft Auto, and you look at what was the other game they did? It was the cowboy game. I can't remember. Red Dead Redemption.
Right? Red Dead Redemption. Yeah.
Right. Red Dead, they took some time, and it was a good product when they released, but they didn't take nearly as much time as Grand Theft Auto. Guess which game has longer legs? Grand Theft Auto still does, right? Like, more people are on that game than Red Dead, and Red Dead has a whole entire...
Well, that's because of the online.
Yeah, but Red Dead's got a whole online open world thing that no one talks about.
Yeah, nobody talks about that.
Yeah,
it was broken, and it was awful.
Yeah.
And then I've heard it's a lot better now, but yeah, the one big thing is that I think that these publishers and the investors and the publishers, what they need to understand is that let these developers cook, man. Let these developers cook. Stop it now, and I know it's not going to stop, but it is. But I love Phil Spencer's approach, and I don't know if that's Phil Spencer and Matt Booty, or it's just Phil or whoever, or it's just the Xbox marketing team, whatever. But I love the approach of let's not show this until it's close to being ready.
Yeah.
I understood that, like, the show Hellblade and all that, and it's been it's been about 3 years now since going on to close to 3 years for that to be before that game is being released, or when they announced Fable, that was what, 2 years ago or whatever. But you know what I'm saying, I get to show those type of games to get people know that they're working on those. I get it, but for the most part, wait until that game is about a year out, because it's like what you said earlier. You can show these games. There's studies that shows that those games, if you show those games 4 or 5, 6 years from when the game actually released, the hype level for that game is going to diminish.
Yeah,
and that's, to me, is just like, look, man. I mean, go ahead and say, look, this is what we're working on, but we won't show anything until it's ready. And I think that the publishers, I know that they want to get the investors so they can get the pre-orders and things like that. but a lot of people are not going to invest into that $70 price tag as quick as they were for that $50 and $60 price tag.
Well,
I just
pre-orders
think
are
that,
not
you
a
know,
thing
I
like they
mean,
used to be anymore because of digital, right?
right,
So, like
right,
that
because of
landscape,
digital.
yeah, that landscape has completely changed. Yeah, you do want people to buy stuff early. I get it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But that landscape is completely changed in regards to
Mm-hmm.
that. So, gamers
Yeah.
live in the now, and I think the industry's got to adapt to the fact that gamers live in the now.
Yeah.
You have to have a little bit of fat on the bone, keep people engaged
Mm-hmm.
until your next project, and you have to leave your last consumer experience to be satisfying. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
consumer doesn't feel satisfied, what are they going to end up doing? They're going to end up going, well, I'm not going to take a chance on your next product, right? So
Right.
that's what it really comes right down to. So I'm
Yeah.
excited with this. Honestly, I'm excited with what
I
Sony's
mean,
going to see. I think Sony's been holding back too, to some degree.
oh yeah.
Yeah, and so
I
I'm
think
excited.
Sony's going to have a good year, but I don't think it's going to be as impactful as it was last year. I think Spider-Man is going to be a juggernaut.
Yeah.
Final Fantasy is going to do well. And of course they'll have some more titles that's gonna drop. I think the year after that, when they talk about maybe another Uncharted, or when they go into into another Last of Us, maybe Factions will finally be shown and talked about, or will release next year or something like that. Now, I mean, Factions could come out this year. Now that would be very popular for that would be a good hit for them. But if, like, let's say, like, they're working on Twisted Metal. I don't know how far they are with Twisted Metal, but if that's a 2024 release, that is something different, fresh from their past that a lot of people have been wanting for
Yeah.
them to bring back. So I think 2024 for Sony is going to be a pretty big year, because then they'll have the Wolverine game will most likely be available to come out in the next year, things like that. So, or maybe in 2025. But I think Sony's 2024 will be a bigger year than this, even though the Spider-Man is going to be the main course title
Well,
for Sony this year.
they also have a lot of, I think it was a VR coming out this year. I can't.
Oh, they're gonna have tons of VR.
Yeah,
I think they're gonna do a lot of VR this year, and to push that, and then they'll have the Final Fantasies and some strong third party exclusive, or some third party deals to whet the palate. You know what I'm saying? So it'll be a good year. I don't think there's going to be a better year than, I think it's going to be Xbox and Nintendo that's going to have the stronger years, in my opinion, this year.
Yeah.
Especially if Hellblade 2 comes out at the end of the year. I think that would be a great first party.
Well, I'll say this:
I
wouldn't be surprised if it comes out this year.
Oh yes, let's go.
I would not be surprised. In regards to that. And I think there's some things we're not talking about that are going to be coming out too. And that's what's exciting for me. For me, it's like, there's the known quantities of things I enjoy, like the Forzas and stuff like that. But I also look forward to the things I didn't know I wanted until I was shown. Like those are the really like High on Life was that game for me last year, right? Like the game that I wanted, I had no idea it was coming out. And it did come out at the very end of the year, but still, it still was a polished experience. What I've experienced so far, everything just works how it's supposed to. So which is awesome in regards to that. So yeah, I don't know. Gaming, I think there's more positive out there in gaming than people realize.
There's a lot more positive going on.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, was that the last subject, or was there one more thing you wanted to talk about?
That was the last one.
Okay.
Just to get started for the 2023.
Yeah. I'm excited, man.
Get our thoughts in. Yeah. No, it's going to be an exciting year, man.
Yeah.
Looking forward to it. So
for sure.
Looking forward to it. So.
Well, that being said, guys, before we sign off, and do all our shout outs. Thanks for sticking with us. We're almost to episode 50. We have one away. I was trying to shoot for episode 50 before the end of the year, but I knew you had some stuff going on, so I didn't put pressure on you. It was more important that the shows are good and we have subjects we actually want to talk about in that regards. But that should be exciting, be able to do that. And then I'll put the filler out on Twitter. Like I want to know what guests do you guys want? Shoot for the moon to the most basic. Just include them in the tweet, and let's see who we can get on as a guest for our 50th episode. In regards to that would be exciting. And then that being said, what else do you want to end with before we shout out for today? So.
Just you know, I'm back at it. You know, we'll be on Xbox 448 channel next podcast tomorrow. We'll also be doing GRG Friday night. We're back, and Fight Night Sunday, and then I'll see about this weekend on jumping on a stream or whatever. I will definitely just hit me up. And it's whatever that you're trying to play or something. If it's something that seems enjoyable, then I might just hop on.
I think this Saturday we should do maybe we should do the game that everyone's bugging you to try.
Oh, Fortnite.
We can do no build mode, Fortnite, just battle.
I thought they took I thought they just took it completely out. There is no build mode anymore.
There is build mode.
Oh, there still is.
Yeah. So for people that want to play, they can still play it. But no, build mode was just kind of the new hotness, and everyone started talking about it. I'm like, I always played no build mode anyway, so like
I did it, and I was trying to do it, but I was just like, man, I was battling with somebody, and it was interesting how, you know, to do it, and then, you know, but that person was building things all the way to the sky, came behind me. And I just built a little wall and just thought that he was going to come on one end, but he came on the other end and killed me. But I was like, that's nuts.
Yeah.
I'm just going to just shoot your ass.
Yeah. So that's usually how you should do it. Okay. But maybe we'll do a little Fortnite. Get Megan back into streaming once again in regards to that. And then keep a lookout on my channels. There will be shorts dropping on both channels, K-Mega's channel. So if you can't catch the whole stream, you can catch little highlights here and there. We're going to try to get that stuff going on a more regular basis for you guys. And then at the end of the day, I'm going to be streaming after this, probably about an hour or so. I'm going to be playing High on Life again, or continuing where I was left off. And yeah, that's about it. Look forward to this year, man. There's a lot of stuff coming. I don't want to talk about too much, but there's a lot of stuff coming on my channels.
Yeah.
So I just want to. I have to output first before I can start talking about it. But that being said, though, keep an eye out. So.
Oh yeah, no doubt. And you know, the plan for what we want to do for GRG that's still in the works. You know, back pretty much cameras, but I still want it to look slick. I don't want it to just be cameras and you just see our ugly mugs and then that's it. You know, I want to have it to look right. So, but that's definitely going to be something. I was trying to do it at the end of the year. You know what I'm saying? Don was trying his hardest, but it just wasn't. It just wasn't. The gaming god said, no, this won't work. So we're going to have to try to figure something else out.
I have a solution for going forward, but we'll play with a couple different ideas in regards to that. I just wanted to work for you every time and you're not struggling to get with your stream to get it started.
Oh, yeah,
people over.
No,
so.
Yeah. So now we'll definitely get to do that. And I'm just looking forward. I'm just happy to be back. You know, the break was definitely, had to get the break because of surgery, but breaks are always good. They're healthy. And you know, you get the batteries recharged and you're ready to go. So I really do appreciate it. For the people that watch this later on, man, thank you guys for the support. You know, go follow my boy, the Don. You know what I'm saying? Me and Don's been doing this for a minute.
I'm fighting for that 1,000, man. I'm fighting for it.
Yeah.
I gotta fight for it.
Go get it. Man, you know what I'm saying? I'll be back getting to Fight Night, man. I'm really excited for Fight Night. I don't know what I'm gonna play yet, but I just wanted to get in there and start getting some hands put on me or put some hands on somebody and just get started. So it is what it is. But man, thank you guys so much. I will see you again here Thursday on the Xbox 448's channel. or if you watch Devin the Gamer in the morning or whenever I get it tomorrow, I'll release it tomorrow, whatever. But or Friday morning, usually is like the day after or something like that.
YouTube's a weird. They have to like wait 12 hours before I can download it. So, but as soon as it's available,
so it'll probably be Friday morning.
Yeah, as soon as it's available, I'll give it to K Mega. And shout out to Yobi, our biggest supporter. You're a huge supporter. We totally appreciate it. You've been tweeting in the chat, and I want to make sure it's not going unnoticed. I've been reading your chats when K Mega's talking and watching the gameplay. I've been super distracted this time around, but it's great to have your guys' support. And
you liked my gameplay, huh? It's good. It was sweet, except for when I kept running into some damn diesels and stuff when I was playing that Nintendo game, but that's okay.
Yeah, but that being said, though, guys, and this podcast is gonna go through some changes too. Me and Mega are gonna have some talks about formats and stuff like that. So definitely Viper gets he always complains about not being here when it's live, and I think he just got it as we're about to sign off.
Yep.
So,
peace, Viper. See you guys later.
Now that Viper's here, I'm out. But
yeah, we